Since 2022, Florida has been undergoing a demographic shift unlike anything in its modern history. Immigrant communities that once grew, thrived, and anchored neighborhoods across the state are now leaving at levels never recorded before. In just 3 years, more than 250,000 people have departed. These are not only recent arrivals, but families with decades-long roots who are quietly packing up their lives. What is driving this historic wave of departures? And why are the signs scattered in places everyone sees, but few connect? The reality reshaping these once vibrant communities changes the entire story of the Sunshine State. Month after month, official datasets began to reveal a stunning reversal. For the first time in over 50 years, Florida's immigrant population wasn't expanding, it was contracting by tens of thousands. U.S. Census microdata and IRS migration files show a net decline of between 220,000 and 290,000 foreign-born residents from 2022 to 2025. It is the largest documented loss of immigrant residents since the 1960s and sharply contradicts Florida's long-standing image as a magnet for newcomers. The numbers are unmistakable. In 2023 alone, 511,000 people moved out of Florida, while 637,000 moved in. Demographers estimate that up to 45% of those leaving South Florida metro areas were foreign-born. Miami-Dade, Broward, Central Florida's agricultural belt, and key communities in Collier and Lee counties saw the steepest drops. Change of address data, school withdrawal numbers, and property sales all point in the same direction. Neighborhoods once shaped by Latin American, Caribbean, Asian, and African families are thinning out far faster than new arrivals can replace them. The timeline is equally clear. After years of growth, Florida's foreign-born population began slipping in mid-2022. By summer 2023, departures surged. Every major policy announcement, every spike in insurance premiums, every hurricane season left a measurable imprint in the data. In Miami-Dade alone, annual outflows from immigrant-majority zip codes doubled between 2021 and 2024. School districts recorded sharp declines in enrollment among English language learners and children from Spanish and Creole-speaking households. Agricultural towns like Immokalee saw not just seasonal drop-offs, but permanent relocation, with labor contractors noting fewer returning workers each year. Peer-reviewed demographic studies and migration indicators now align. This is not a temporary dip. The post-2022 outmigration curve is steep, sustained, and without modern precedent. For the first time since the post-war era, Florida's immigrant neighborhoods are shrinking, especially in the same communities that once defined the state's cultural and economic vitality. A new map of Florida is emerging, one marked by empty homes, shuttered stores, and classrooms with more unoccupied seats, revealing a profound transformation of the state's social landscape. A deeper look shows exactly where the decline is most intense. In Miami-Dade, entire blocks in Hialeah, Homestead, and Little Havana now display clusters of vacant homes, stacked mail forwarding notices, and surging school withdrawals. Broward County, long a hub for Haitian and Colombian families, now reports the state's highest outbound mail forwarding rates, especially in cities like Hollywood and Hallandale Beach. Schools there show sudden enrollment drops among Spanish, Creole, and Portuguese-speaking households. The pattern continues northward. The corridor running from Orlando through Kissimmee, Apopka, and Sanford has become another hot zone of departures. Local USPS data identifies zip codes where outbound mail requests have doubled in 2 years. Clusters of school withdrawals form clear pockets, with guidance counselors in Osceola County noting entire classrooms thinning by the start of the 2024 school year. Apartment complexes and mobile home parks, once filled with Guatemalan, Venezuelan, and Puerto Rican families, now sit half-empty, with leasing offices receiving daily requests for early move-outs. Farther west, agricultural towns like Immokalee in Collier County and Belle Glade in Palm Beach County are seeing some of the sharpest losses. Labor contractors report declining numbers of returning workers, with certain neighborhoods losing up to 15% of their population since 2022. Community organizations document rising numbers of abandoned rentals, closed corner stores, and shrinking church attendance. These are not seasonal departures, they are permanent relocations. These red zones, Miami-Dade, Broward, Central Florida's agricultural corridor, Immokalee, share a common thread. They are communities built over decades by immigrant families. Now they are the front lines of Florida's quiet exodus. The signs are everywhere. silent bus stops at dawn, for sale, signs multiplying, and schoolyards where morning bells echo across emptier grounds. Each location tells a story of rising costs, tightening laws, and growing uncertainty that is reshaping Florida's social fabric. Rents have climbed at a breathtaking pace. In Miami, once praised for its affordability, typical rents have risen 30 to 60% since 2020. A two-bedroom apartment in Miami-Dade now averages more than $2,600 a month, even as median incomes barely move. Miami now ranks as the least affordable metro area in America when comparing wages to rent. Orlando, Tampa, and Fort Lauderdale mirror the same pattern, with families spending more than half their income simply to remain housed. For many immigrant families, the math no longer works. A Venezuelan grocery store owner in Hialeah, who opened her shop in 2012, now packs inventory at night. Her rent nearly doubled in 3 years. Her utilities, insurance, and supply costs rose just as quickly. Her expenses swallow virtually every dollar she earns. Holding a pile of overdue bills in one hand and her lease in the other, she must tell her children they are leaving the only home they remember. This story repeats statewide. Wages in construction, hospitality, and service, industries powered largely by immigrant labor, have barely kept up with inflation. Groceries cost more. Gas costs more. Car insurance is up over 20% since 2021. With no financial cushion, a single rent increase or car repair can trigger a crisis. When the cost of staying rises faster than the hope of improving one's life, families start planning an exit. Financial strain is only one half of the equation. A wave of new laws created a climate of fear and uncertainty that magnified every hardship. On July 1, 2023, Florida's Senate Bill 1718 went into effect, reshaping immigrant life overnight. Private employers with 25 or more employees must now use E-Verify to check immigration status for all new hires. Non-compliance can lead to heavy fines or even permanent loss of a business license. Construction, agriculture, and hospitality HR departments scrambled to adjust. Reports emerged of workers, including some with legal status, being flagged in error and let go. Their pay stubs marked status review or employment on hold. The law extends far beyond workplaces. It prohibits the use of foreign or out-of-state IDs for most official tasks, leaving thousands unable to renew driver's licenses or access basic services. Police now have expanded authority to question and detain individuals suspected of lacking legal status, with advocacy groups documenting a rise in ID checks at traffic stops and public events. One of the most alarming provisions makes it a felony to transport an undocumented person into Florida, even if that person is a family member. Mixed-status families began calling legal clinics in panic. Many packed up and left within days. Hospitals must now ask every patient about immigration status and report anonymized data to the state quarterly. Though treatment cannot legally be denied, fear alone has kept many away. Early hospital reports show spikes in patients refusing to answer and visible drops in visits from immigrant communities. Meanwhile, the law allocated $12 million for transporting undocumented migrants out of Florida, sending a clear message about the state's priorities. Across work sites and neighborhoods, compliance notices circulated, warning families, employers, and workers of the risks. For many, leaving felt less like a choice and more like an urgent necessity. The effects rippled across Florida's economy. Farm fields in Immokalee grew quieter. Maria Rodriguez, a tomato packer in Collier County for over a decade, saw her pay stub branded "Employment on Hold, Status Review." Within 48 hours, her family's trailer was empty. Text exchanges saved by local organizers reveal supervisors scrambling to replace workers as more families vanished. Some heading to Georgia, others simply gone. Construction sites around Orlando reported sudden worker shortages in the weeks after SB 1718 took effect. Contractors traded worried emails as crews shrank. A major drywall subcontractor logged a 20% drop in attendance by late June 2023. Employers afraid of penalties hesitated to hire anyone whose documents might not pass federal checks. Projects slowed, deadlines slipped, and costs soared. Hotels and elder care agencies experienced similar upheaval. Housekeepers resigned in waves. Home health aides quietly stopped showing up, leaving elderly clients without support. In agriculture, Florida certified 53,000 H-2A guest worker jobs in 2022, but by 2024 that number dropped to 46,500, a decline of nearly 12%. Advocacy groups estimate that 1 in 4 guest workers chose not to return due to legal risk. Each family's departure reverberates outward. Crops unharvested, hotel rooms uncleaned, construction behind schedule. The workforce that fueled Florida's growth is thinning, and the effects are felt everywhere. Financial pressures only deepen the crisis. Insurance bills, once painful but predictable, have transformed into unmanageable burdens. The average Florida homeowner premium hit $5,376, more than double the national average. In storm-hit neighborhoods, premiums can reach $15,000 or more, consuming entire paychecks. By late 2023, immigrant-majority zip codes saw premiums running 2.5 to 5 times the national average. Then came the cancellations. More than 400,000 policies were dropped in under a year as major insurers withdrew. Letters from insurers like Farmers and Heritage gave families 30 days to find new coverage or risk losing their homes. The last resort was Citizens, the state-backed insurer with higher deductibles and fewer protections. On many kitchen tables, the numbers simply did not add up. Some households saw premiums jump by 80%. Others received non-renewal notices. Selling became the only way to avoid bankruptcy. Entire decades of work could be erased by one envelope in the mail. Flood risk is reshaping communities, too. NOAA flood maps show rising vulnerability across Miami-Dade, Broward, and inland central Florida. Investors noticed. After every major storm since 2022, deed records reveal surges of institutional buying. In Little Havana, for example, 3 companies acquired 21 properties within months of a severe flood. Within a year, rents rose 25% to 40%, and eviction filings doubled. This pattern, disaster, buyout, rent hike, displacement, appears in Apopka, Liberty City, and parts of Apopka. Longtime renters are squeezed by rising taxes, soaring insurance, and aggressive redevelopment. Some move in with relatives. Many leave the state entirely. The result is a cascade. Flood, investor purchase, rent spike, departure. Neighborhoods rebuilt after every storm now face displacement driven not by weather, but by economics. The social fallout is felt in community spaces. In October 2024, Pastor Jean-Claude Renard in Little Haiti stood before his congregation reading a stack of farewell letters. Nearly 20% of his members had announced moves. The potluck afterward was quieter, with empty chairs and dishes left by families already gone. The destinations were varied: Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, Illinois, small Midwestern towns. But the reasons were nearly identical: affordable housing, safer schools, stability. Community centers serving Haitian, Colombian, and Venezuelan families reported similarly shrinking attendance and volunteer loss. Out-migration maps now trace clear lines from Miami, Broward, and Central Florida to Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Newark, and Chicago. What remains is a thinner, quieter civic fabric. Streets that once echoed with Haitian Creole, Spanish, and Portuguese now feel subdued. Families gather for final meals, knowing that what they're leaving behind is not just a place, but an entire community. Today, Florida's loss of nearly 290,000 immigrant residents is reshaping the state's economy, identity, and trajectory. As costs rise and regulations tighten, the communities that helped build Florida's growth are disappearing, and their absence cannot be replaced quickly. What happens next is more than a Florida story. It is a larger question about what America decides to value. Share your thoughts below and join the conversation.